Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel today. So today what I thought I'd speak about is what do you do if you've lost custody or access to your own child. Okay, now this is something I know a little bit about. I learnt the hard way. Now first thing I will say, because I will put a disclaimer up, one, I'm not a solicitor, I'm not a barrister, I'm not legally trained, but I learnt the hard way, a bit like my father. Okay, now, the thing I will say, I'll say it straight up. In 2009, I had a child. Okay, my daughter, Amy Whittier, who last time I heard lives in the Fairham area, I have never seen in 16 years. Now, what I would always say to everybody is do the exact opposite for what I did. The exact opposite. Because I made fundamental mistakes. Now, to lose access to my daughter, okay, now I've never seen her. Been sent pictures by my ex-girlfriend over the years. Okay, but I've never actually spoken to her and I've never actually seen her. I know she's on social media and we shared one message. It could actually be my ex-girlfriend, to be honest, for all I know. But this is what you do. And the first thing of what you don't do is what most men actually do, is go all guns blazing, start making threats. And this could be a woman as well, because women lose access to their children as well. And the ex-partner has them instead. You don't go all guns blazing. Categoric mistake number one, because what's going to happen is they are going to get their backs up and they're going to make it more difficult for you. So what you can do, okay, and this is the easiest step, without having to worry about solicitors or anything like that, message them on social media, phone them, write letters, basic things like that. Give that a shot first. Okay, and you may say something as basic as writing a letter sounds bloody stupid. Okay, now it's not stupid, because I'll give you a classic example. My stepdaughter is 24 years old, and many years ago, before me and my wife got together, okay, he'd never spent any time with his daughter or my stepdaughter, and he got in touch with my now wife, who I've been married to for 7 years, happily some of the time, when she's not irritating me. And he wrote a letter to her. And I've seen this letter. I've actually read it. I read it, my wife showed me it, 8 years ago? And the problem for him at the time was he had left it too late. He should have done it many years before. But he wrote a letter to my wife, making all these promises that he was going to be there for his daughter and everything, which he failed to live up to yet again. Okay, which was no real surprise. He's barely been in her life in the last, 7 years? I think she could probably count on her one hand how many times she's seen him since COVID. And COVID's 5 years ago? And seriously, she could probably count on her hands how many times. You know? And he's a decent guy at the end of the day. He's a nice guy. I've got no personal problem with him. So that's the other answer. Now, if none of that works, okay, then the reality is you either wait until they're 18, which is a massive mistake. And the reason I say it's a massive mistake, because what happened, I can look at my own situation. Okay, my mother, when I was probably around about 6 or 7, stopped my father from seeing us. Now, my father lived up in London. We lived in Southampton. Okay. Now, my father was an alcoholic. Okay. He is a recovering alcoholic, but he'll openly admit he did have a drinking problem back in the day. Okay, so my mum stopped him from seeing us until I was 18, when he tracked me down, should I say. And he used the Salvation Army, got in touch with the Salvation Army, and they managed to get in touch with me. And since that, when I was 18 and I'm now 47 years of age, God, I'm getting old, I've been in regular contact with him, I speak to him every day. But the fundamental problem is damage was done. The damage was done because he never really did anything until I was 18. Okay, and I can look at my sister. My sister holds a massive grudge. He's never had anything to do with any of his grandchildren on my sister's side. Yeah, he speaks to my children on a regular basis. Okay, and he gets pictures and he sees them. And he only lives down the road, to be honest. He lives down in Southampton, so he's about 15, 20 miles away. But the damage was done. So anybody that considers thinking, well, yeah, if I don't want the fight, I'll wait until he or she is 18. Do not do it. It is the biggest mistake in your life that you can make. Okay, you will regret it for the rest of your life. And I can say it because it happened to me via my father, and it's happening to me now. Okay, so this is what you do. If you're on the birth certificate, okay, that's the bonus. If you're not, it's going to be a bit more awkward. So the first thing you do, as long as you know where they live, you get in touch with the courts. You make an application to the courts to drag their asses into a courtroom. Don't need a solicitor. Okay, go and see a solicitor to get legal advice and everything, just in case. Okay, you make an application to the courts. Now, they can ignore that 3 times. Okay, you can make the application 3 times and they can ignore it. 3rd time, court order is going to be issued. Their asses are going to be dragged to court. Doesn't mean you're about to see your child or anything, because the first thing the courts are going to know is paternity. Okay, you're going to have to prove paternity. Okay, now you can request a DNA test. So if you're not on the birth certificate, you get yourself put on that birth certificate, which means you're going to have to do a DNA test. If you're already on the birth certificate, you're not going to have to do that. Now, depending on the age of the child, so I believe it's, if they're over the age of 12, they have a say in it, whether they want anything to do. Now, it doesn't mean any judge is going to pay a single bit of attention to the child. They don't have to. They can completely ignore and think, what the hell do you know? You're 12, 13 years of age. Okay, you may not have seen your father for the last decade. You've had say for instance, the mother's got a child of in our family trying to manipulate you. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but it does happen. I know from only too well myself. So there is the potential. So the judge may not pay a single bit of attention to what they say. Okay, but they can do. Now, here comes the reality. Okay, a lot of people will say judges in the courts are in favour of the mother. They're not in favour of the mother. They're in favour of what the child is used to. That's reality. You know, if a child is used to being with their mother Monday to Sunday, every day, and that's what they're used to, they're not about to take the child out of that home. Okay, so I would always say, me personally, get what you can at the end of the day. So if they say to you, right, you haven't seen your child for 10 years, okay, you've been out of their life, whether that's your fault or not your fault, okay, that's irrelevant. But what I'm going to say to you as the judge on the day, I want you to sit in a centre with your child, let's say for instance once a week, for an hour a week, to build up a bit of rapport. You should be begging and accepting that straight away, not trying to be the big I am and say, no, I want her every single weekend, or I want him every weekend, because they're not going to do that. What you can get, you accept. And then you slowly and slowly build up rapport. And then if the other parent starts being awkward, okay, and trying to stop you from seeing your child, which does happen, we hear all these cases all the time, okay, they can actually be arrested. And don't think a judge won't do it, because they will. It may take a while, because that's a breach of a court order. And judges don't generally like that. They don't like putting women in jail, don't get me wrong, but they can do it. So don't think that all the power is in a woman's hands, because it ain't. Maybe there was a period 20 years ago where all the power is in a woman, but it isn't nowadays. Now, people are going to be saying, which is a classic case for me, what do you do if you don't know where she lives? What do you do if she did a bunk? Okay, now I know, because I went through this situation, and I'll tell you what happened to me. Now, my ex-girlfriend, okay, which is Sophie Whittier, she ain't going to like me saying her name, and I'll say it 100 times if needs be, just to annoy her. Okay. We had a child that was born on the 6th of August 2009. My daughter, Amy Whittier, and the thing was, we were actually going to christen her Amy May Whittier, which I think it was, the May was going to be from her grandmother or something, if I remember right. My memory's not the best, but that was the reason for the May. But never happened. She was never christened Amy May, or as far as I'm aware. Even though I have actually spoken to the registry office, and they say it's just Amy. So yeah, basically what happened was, she got me banned from the hospital. I never even got told. I found out later in the day via social media. Found out the hospital. Even though I worked at the hospital, I was actually the treasurer for the League of Friends. Got banned from working at the hospital. Got threatened that I was going to be arrested if I actually turned up at the hospital. Wasn't too bad, because I got a couple of weeks off work. You know, the League of Friends weren't happy because I was unable to attend any meetings, okay, which I was due to actually go to. So I was unable to attend any of that. Still get on with the maternity department. There was never any grudges between us, even though they were fearing, because it was down to me to decide if they could get any funds from the League of Friends. Okay, which was quite ironic at the time, which was at Queen Alexandra Hospital in Southampton. I mean, not Southampton, in Portsmouth. And when she got released, she bolted. Didn't know where she was. And I went down the route of contacting the likes of Jeremy Cole's show, got in touch with my family solicitor, which is Eric Robinson Solicitors in Southampton. Very good solicitors. And they did what needed to be done. Now, there was two options. One, I used a solicitor to track her down, which they did, and they wrote a letter to her and asked her politely if I could see my daughter, which she refused, and she refused to respond. The second option you can have is you get a private detective. Now, what you've got to remember is, in today's day and age, it's not as difficult to track somebody down as it was maybe 10, 20 years ago, because of our digital footprints. You know, if you're working, you can be tracked via that way, via payroll. If you're not working and you're on benefits, you can be tracked down that way. Most people have social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you know, all these different ways people can be tracked down. Okay, unless you completely go off and you go into the wilderness, okay, and you're going to live off the land, you can be tracked down. Okay, another way, if you register to vote, you can be tracked down that way at the end of the day. So there's plenty of ways that PIs and solicitors can track people down. So if they think they can just disappear, they're living in cloud cuckoo land. Okay, anybody can be tracked down if the authorities want to track them down. So if you need to find your ex so you can drag them to court because they're playing hardball, that's what you do. And then you put the solicitor to the side or the PI to the side as soon as you've got the address, and then you can petition the courts. And that's the easiest way to do it and the cheapest way to do it. Obviously, if you've got spare cash and you want to spend money, you know, it's like when I went down the route of taking my ex to the courts, I got quoted £20,000. That's how much it was going to cost me. And I just got married and I faced bankrupting myself. And I thought, I can't do that. I faced losing everything. I faced becoming homeless. I faced losing my wife. But I made the mistake. I should have risked it all, lost it all, so I could actually get in touch with my daughter. And because I didn't do that, I've never seen her. And that's something I have to live with. So what I would say is, to anybody that's watching this video, risk it all. Because you will never, ever realise how much regret can hurt. You know, I've ended up, because I didn't do it, you know, I've been diagnosed with depression, I've been diagnosed with anxiety, spent half my life since that on the sick. You know, I still work, I refuse to be off sick half the time, okay, but if you want to know how to do it, take these steps, be smart, don't be stupid. I'm not trying to say that anybody's stupid, but be smart, play it smart, okay, don't try going making the threats and everything. Use a bit of intelligence, kick your brain into gear, and be a bit sensible about the way you do it. And it may take a bit longer, but you will get to where you want to be. So I hope this helps somebody out there. Okay. If you've got any questions, just drop me a message. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give us a like and share as well. But for now, thanks for listening. I want to speak to you again a bit later.